Okay, this on. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a few short vignettes that relate to really human health, and in particular looking at some of the problems we have in developing better therapeutics. You know, we're one with nature, and nature provides a lot of challenges to us. And I think what we'll admit that, you know, we're very concerned about one specific thing that's occurring today. It occurred almost 100 years ago, which is influenza. You know, you get checked when you go through the airports now because you potentially have the flu. You know, in 1918, it killed over 20 million people in the world. Today, we have a little bit better medical care, but we haven't really developed many good therapeutics. Tamiflu, which is a structure you see here, maybe is one of the best ones, but it really doesn't do a whole lot. And why is that the case? Well, it hasn't been a lack of trying. Drug discovery is extremely difficult, and it's very chancy. As you can see here, Take Your Best Shot is an example of, in many cases, how drugs are discovered today. But what is really behind the problems of doing something in developing better drugs? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but this gives you an idea of the challenges and the difficulties that we're facing. This is an example of the new molecular entities. Those are new drugs as a function of time. You can see it's dropping down dramatically, and yet over time the cost has gone way up. There's a huge innovation gap that's resulted, an innovation gap that we believe engineering can play a significant role. Drug discovery is complicated. You start with large numbers of molecules, you winnow them down ultimately to go into animals, ultimately then further into the clinic. Maybe 1 out of 10,000 that actually go through a small number of screens make it through. Really 1 out of millions really make it through as a drug. And as the process continues, the costs go way up. So why is this the case? Well, biology is difficult. If you take a look at a 777 or a cell, the same number of parts exist in both. Yet we know how to design, build, and fly a 777. We don't know how to design a cell. We don't know all the details of what goes on in the cell. We have no idea of all the different biochemical pathways that you see here on this slide. Another aspect of this that makes biology, because biology is difficult and makes this complex, is many drugs that we develop are very good but also very toxic. And how do we weed out the toxic molecules as quickly as we can? That's actually me behind it with the glasses. And developing new tools that we can have that enable us to identify quickly what's toxic could be quite important. All of us are different. We respond differently to drugs. That means that personalized medicine is something that we really ought to be looking at. In fact, scientifically, we have a lot of the skills to do that now. The governments and the regulation really comes in as something that's significantly blocking it. But this is a challenge and one that we really need to begin to move towards. Another area goes into complex therapeutics. So for example, heparin, which is a very important anticoagulant drug. Here's how it's made today. Here in China, the pig mucosas are scraped and heparin's isolated and then sent off for formulations. Contaminants have occurred, killing well over 100 people worldwide. Now that is made from the early 1900s. Why not go into something that you see here where you can bioengineer it? Why can't we develop heparin like we develop insulin and other kinds of drugs through a bioengineered approach? Well, there's a lot of roadblocks to that. One is, how is it even made in the cell? Remember from your basic biology with Golgi, coming up with an idea of how the body actually generates and the cell generates the protein and the proteoglycans and so forth. We can mimic the Golgi by developing small-scale microfluidic devices. Here's an example of something which would mimic really different compartments in something like that. Really, it's an artificial organelle, maybe the first one that's been developed, and can give rise to having a better understanding of what occurs in the cell. We can begin with engineering tools to begin to visualize what goes on in the cell. Here's an example of just a flow through a cell and looking at the different organelles that exist. By visualizing, simulating, we get a better understanding of what's actually occurring, both at the molecular level and even at the organelle level and ultimately the whole cellular level. One of the goals that we have, and we being the royal we here, is to go all the way from the basic genetic information through to the machines in the cell, the proteins, ultimately making our way into the different components of the cell. If we get a better understanding of that, we're going to be able to design the cell, to do exactly what we'd like, to be able to exploit it to make the products that we would like to be made. Artificial life, maybe a little bit grand, but one of the things that we really have in mind here is that if you take a look at one of the big scourges of mankind being infectious disease, why do we have to wait 20 years like we did with penicillin from the time it was discovered to the time it actually got out on the market and in fact helped people who died in World War II because of infection because they didn't have a good antibiotic? So with that, I'd like to conclude. This is actually a picture of Rensselaer's Biotechnology Center, and we're very proud of that, of course. It's a beautiful picture. But with that, thank you very much, and maybe we'll talk about this later.
Perfect. Very good, Jonathan.